Hi guys, welcome back to yet another episode of the Make It Easy podcast. My name is Shalomeni and this is episode 10 of the season 2. Yeah, season 2 guys, season 2. So I'm so happy guys. It's been 9 fantastic episodes and I'm so glad that you guys have been part of this journey. And yeah, I really appreciate you guys. So today we have one amazing guest, and lest I butcher her introduction, I'll just let her introduce herself. Yeah, so Nyawira Gachugi.
It's usually so funny how people say, I don't know how to introduce
I don't want to butcher it.
But yeah, my name is Nyawira. I'm a fan of Shalom. I'm a content creator. I speak, I write, I do many things. The core of them all is communication. So that's what I do for a living.
Look at you belittling yourself like
it's what I do. All the other things, they're just big and noisy, but that's what I do for a living.
Okay, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
It's such an honor to have Nyawira on set.
I'm happy to be
podcast.
Here.
Yeah, I'm so happy. So today's conversation is about imposter syndrome.
Okay.
Yeah, so imposter syndrome is such a big, word, and there's so many thoughts to it. So I want to hear what do you think imposter syndrome is, and have you felt, or at any point of your life, have you felt like imposter syndrome has played a part in your becoming or in any part of your life? Yeah.
Now, first, well, I have many many thoughts about imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
The first one being, it happens. It happens. The second one being our definitions from pop culture. So like imposter syndrome in like common society and culture would be that you feel less than, or you feel undeserving of some opportunities or some relationships or some platforms or even some jobs. So you get this big job. Yes, you've gone to school. Yes, you have the qualification, you have the work ethic, but then you get the job and you're like, I don't belong here. So that's what I think imposter syndrome is, according to the Nyawira dictionary. Have I faced imposter syndrome? So many times. Yeah, so many times, because I have found myself in, like, let's say a random event. And I actually would have to go to the bathroom to pinch myself and say, wait a minute.
Am I dreaming?
Where am I? Nyawira, what are you doing? You know? So I don't want to label it as imposter syndrome, but it's because I also feel like imposter syndrome has a strange way of making you think that you're where you are because of your strength, as opposed to the fact that God actually positioned you. So where he sends you, you're equipped for it. So imposter syndrome, I feel like, is a whisper from the enemy telling us that you don't belong there. So of late, I'm learning to stop labeling it as imposter syndrome and just say, I feel undeserving, but God, I belong here. So I feel like I'm not the one for this job fully, but I know God has sent me here. So I think that's the mind shift I'm having concerning it of late.
Okay, and do you think that imposter syndrome, for you, maybe at any particular point, do you think it's because you are used to not being in those places that when it comes, you're like, Mimi? Paxes, tell Mimi, not me.
Paxes. I haven't had that in a long time. Trust Shalom. I think what happens with imposter syndrome, for me particularly, is not because I thought the opportunities were not for me, or that I'm so used to not getting them, but I would constantly live in a place of comparison, saying Shalom would be better placed to be here than me. So it's not because of... So it's a weird thing, because I think it's actually an esteem issue. You like, I would look at myself in a place and think, wow. That person should be the one doing what I'm doing. What are you doing here? I remember last year, I was at an event called the Athena Gathering. And I was there, and I say it everywhere. I was there because Janet Mbogwa had said, let Nyawira be one of the MCs. Let Nyawira be the MC. So this lady calls and says, hi, how are you? You're Nyawira? I said, yes. Janet has given us your contact. You're the one doing this thing. So I said, oh, Janet. Okay, that's true. So I actually liked Janet and I had this conversation.
She told me.
Like I knew this thing was coming. But when Janet, then when we had the briefing, I didn't know who else I was doing this with. Because also in my head, I was like, I'll honor the fact that I've been considered. So I went, put on my makeup because you also kind of look like hardship when you've been switched on. So I came for this interview, and then I went for the meeting. So at the meeting, the briefing, the DJ is like one of my industry mentors. Like he's gone ahead of us in the entertainment space. So I meet him. First I'm like, where are you here? He said, where are you here? I was like, ata misi but sasa tuko hapa, let's figure it out.
Yeah.
After that, we got now into the meeting, and they said, oh, you're going to be emceeing with Jeff Koinange. So I said, oh, okay, sawa.
All right.
Deep down.
Butterflies,
all emotions were running up and down my chest.
Oh, you had not known that?
I didn't know before, because I was like, oh, okay, I'm doing this thing, but I didn't know who I was doing it with.
Yeah.
And I was happy to do it with anybody. So we get to the venue, we're doing this thing with Jeff. I loved working with him because he's also a very light-spirited person. He's very professional, but also knows how to have a good time. So during the event, as we were almost finishing, he turns to me and says, I like working with you. You're very professional. I said, am I? I went to the bathroom. I said, God, you have had your servant, Jeff. It's not me who has said, it's him who has said. So I think for me, one of the things I have constantly found myself thinking is, how am I here? Not, I don't belong here. Yeah.
How am I here? How are you there?
How are you here?
All right.
Yeah.
And I feel also, my thoughts are with imposter syndrome, is that it comes because sometimes we want to be perfectionists. So we want to feel like we have it all figured out. So when sometimes it might not be imposter syndrome really, but when we feel like we have not figured it out, then we start thinking of ourselves less and saying like, no, I don't deserve it, I don't. Have you ever found yourself being in a space where you feel like, I want to be, we were just having this conversation a few seconds ago, but do you think imposter syndrome and perfectionism plays like, go hand in hand, or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, as a person who is not a perfectionist, I think I've relinquished that power. I've realized I can't be a perfectionist because I think it's too much commitment. I actually think imposter syndrome fights perfectionism. Because perfectionists, I think because Dr. Nyawira here, I think the thing perfectionists struggle with is that they always tend to tell themselves, I'm going to have a perfect final product before I introduce it to the world. Imposter syndrome says you've been considered even when you're not perfect, but you're not ready. Yeah, and I think the word is imposter, because I think imposter means you're faking, isn't it?
You're not the one.
You're not the one. Yeah, you're a scam. Yeah. So I think the trick here is to say a perfectionist can have it, but I think imposter syndrome cuts across the street, because the people who are, like I'm telling you, not perfectionists. The guys, and I'm not shading anyone's journey, but there are guys you look at and you wonder, how did you get to where you got to? Because I know many people whose credentials, of them all, you're not there. Yeah. So they're not perfectionists. But then there are also people who have worked so hard. They have mastered such good skills that they have lived in this dark hole for perfectionism. And both of them can suffer imposter syndrome. Because for this one who has no qualification, they're like, I'm faking. These guys, when the day they'll find me, I'm in trouble. Then a perfectionist says, I'm not perfect enough yet for what I want. So both of them struggle the same thing.
Just different struggles.
Just different,
struggling
differently. Exactly. Different manifestations.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to know, like, at one of the ways that maybe imposter syndrome has stemmed out or has come in your life, and how have you fought, or how have you moved past it?
Yeah.
What are the strategies? The 10 ways.
10 steps.
10 steps.
Two things. One, how it has happened to me is that when imposter syndrome begins to become a bit louder, I self-sabotage. So I will not show up for things. I will not talk to people. I will not go. I will not invest. I will not commit. I will do nothing. So I'll say, because I'm not deserving, why should I bother? So I'll move away from it completely. So what has that done? It has cost me opportunities. I remember one time. So also I just want to give the inverse of this self-sabotaging that is through imposter syndrome, is that sometimes I found myself in situations where I actually wanted the opportunity, and then it actually came, and I actually said no. or I messed it up completely because in my head, knowing I wanted it, because I was like, okay, I knew I wanted it, but I couldn't you know, like what the heck, you shouldn't be exactly, give me some time. And I think that taught me to like stop it. And I think, so one of the steps to fighting self-sabotage through imposter syndrome is that one, you must be always willing to try. Right? But then also because I think, I mean, I know you're a believer, so hey, bite me, is that I also have to say that I don't think God positions us when we're fully ready. Otherwise, we'll never need him. So he needs us to be in a place where we are available, but groomable. And I think that's what kills imposter syndrome. Me, I'm just available. You want me to come do what? Let's go. I don't know what I'll do there, but if God has allowed me to go, I'll go and do it. So I think a place of just knowing availability sometimes trumps perfectionism, right? And then that's number 2. So number 3, the other thing I think is very important to kill self-sabotage is kill the voices in your head. That's where they are. You know, imposter syndrome doesn't come and meet you in the sitting room and say, hi, I heard you got a gig. No.
They're here.
It's all here. And how you silence that is that you must also have a very strong self-belief system where you believe so much in yourself, so much in what you can become. Not just where you are, but in what you can become. And when you achieve that, you find yourself now on the steps to finding out, wow, I'm actually working hard towards something. So believe in what you can become. But then also, I think, just honestly speaking, is sometimes we believe in who we are, we believe in what we can do. But then the people around us could also be sources of injection of self-sabotage through imposter syndrome, where something comes your way, Shalom, and someone tells you, so now you're doing your 2nd season, almost going to your 3rd season. Hey! God of consistency. Visit this guy. So by the time you're doing your 3rd season, someone sits you down and says, Shalom, I think you need to stop doing it. Who do you think you are? Why do you think you're meant to be doing this? And what happens with you is that you believed in this opportunity to take this podcast to the next level. But what happens is because people around you are against it, it plants the seed of imposter syndrome saying, who do you think you are to do something this long? You know what I mean? So I think also the people around us, they play a big part in this thing. And sometimes we don't like saying it, but people can be the problem as well. It has to be said. It has to be said.
Wow. So I'm getting 2 things. The thing about self-sabotage. And when you said that, I remembered Moses in the Bible. And the way when God had told him, you know, you'll be the one to deliver my people. And then he's like, God, I cannot speak. You know, I already killed an Egyptian. So, you know, so many excuses. And I feel that is us human beings. When God tells us, when God gives you a thought or an idea or something to do, you're like, God, I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have this. We are so quick to putting the things that we don't have or things that we don't have at that particular moment and forget that the one who has called us is actually, you know, he has it all figured out. He did. I usually say this a lot of times, like when God was giving out gifts and assignments to us, he did not randomly pick like, Nyawira, this is what I want you to do. No, he was intentional when he said, I want you to do this because I know you will be very fruitful and you're going to be able to do it to your level best. So this is to tell people not to look down on yourself, because most of the times imposter syndrome is actually not, it's other than people who of course play a huge role. It's from you. Like you like the way you've said, you got this opportunity and then you're like, Nyawira, I cannot do it. So make sure your belief system, of course it comes from God. So if God is the, you know, outpouring and source of your life, you won't feel when these thoughts come. The Bible is there to tell you otherwise. It's there to counter say. That's like counter speak. It's there to counter speak what the enemy has implanted in you. So the other thing is about self-criticism. There's positive self-criticism.
Absolutely.
Very important. And I think most of us confuse those two. Where you tell yourself, I've been called to do this, I want to do this, but I need to perfect my skills to this certain point for me to be able to do it. So what are your thoughts on the importance of having positive self-criticism?
What are my thoughts on positive self-criticism? Okay.
Because now we depend so much on you telling me I can do it. We don't want to tell ourselves like, okay, if she has not said I can do it, then I cannot do it. So it's important to, like, tell yourself that you are called for it. For you, at that point, probably you made a call and tell someone, I'm feeling this type of way. But I think at that point, you had to tell yourself, Nyawira, niko hapa, ni wewe Jeff amesema this and this and this. So it's very important. Tell us your thoughts about that.
Oh, I don't even think I can add anything to what you've said because you've said it all so correctly. Number one, self-criticism is solution-centered. It is not complaint-focused. So, Shalom is a podcaster. Self-criticism is saying, Shalom, you've done so well. And this is how it starts. It starts with, Shalom, you've done so well up until season 2. What are you going to do in season 3 to make it better? Not, how can you get to season 3? The tone, and I think we like to talk about it a lot when we're fighting with significant others. But we never say it, but we talk so badly to ourselves. So it's not even about lack of confidence, it's how you talk to yourself.
Yeah.
So self-criticism must always end up with, well done, do better. Not, you did badly, you can never do better. Because I think imposter syndrome tells you, no. Self-criticism says, how. Yeah.
No, how.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, no, you can't do this thing. Who do you think you have to do it? How will you make this better? Those two, that's the difference. And I think also the truth is, and I think we see this a lot also with people in the Bible, is that there are many people who suffered from, I don't want to say imposter syndrome, but a lack of awareness of who God was. Yeah, so they got so caught up in what they were not good at.
Yeah.
And they forgot God can show up and say, I'm to try Shalom.
I
don't think that's how my God sits in heaven saying, who shall we try? I don't think that's how he No. He looks at us and he says, they must be, in this person I have trusted this in them. They don't know it, they don't have it, but it's in them. Yeah.
Okay, I love it. So you have not mentioned that you are a confidence coach. So I want you to tell us, do you think confidence is a remedy for imposter syndrome?
Is confidence a remedy for imposter syndrome? No. I don't think it's a remedy. You know what imposter syndrome does? It tells you your shortcoming. Yeah. It reminds you of what you can't do, or what it doesn't even remind you. It paints a picture of impossibility. Confidence cannot solve imposter syndrome because I want to use an example to make this come alive. So I'm called to go and speak somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm confident in my gift. I'm confident in my skill. I'm confident in my preparation. And I'm confident in my delivery. So I'm confident. Imposter syndrome doesn't say you're not ready. It says don't be there. So it doesn't kill the confidence. So even though I'm so confident, you see, I'm even confident in my execution before even I've spoken.
Yeah.
So what happens with us is that we find that sometimes, and maybe it's just so to tell people out there, is that there are very many people who are very confident but struggle with imposter syndrome. And so what imposter syndrome does, it doesn't kill the confidence, it silences it. So imposter syndrome, as I said, is a voice in your head. Confidence is not a voice in your head only. It's actually a way of your life. Yeah. Because
it's not a one-time thing.
It's not.
I'm confident today, tomorrow I'm not.
No, I don't believe. I don't believe in that gospel. I believe everybody is confident.
Yeah.
It's just that there are things that come your way and tell you, shh, shh, shh. And I think that's what imposter syndrome does. So confidence isn't a remedy for imposter syndrome. The actual remedy for imposter syndrome is self-belief, which is not confidence. Yeah, because confidence must be a tangible expression of something you have either worked
Can you believe in yourself and not be confident?
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Yeah.
Because also and there are people I know, many people I know out there who are they believe so much in what they are. But because of things that they have happened in their lives before, that confidence that they should have is silenced because they start to think to themselves, I'm good at this thing. I'm good at this thing. But because of what they've done before, they start to tell themselves, maybe not for everywhere. Yeah. So confidence pushes you out of your comfort zone. Imposter syndrome tells you, who told you to come out?
Back you go.
Stay there.
Stay there.
Yeah. So that's why I think sometimes the strength of like training somebody in their confidence is not to tell them, kill imposter syndrome or kill this smallness you suffer from. It's to tell them, remind them who they are. It makes you more confident in the person, such that when this big loud voice comes, you're like, where nakujua? I know you and I can see you coming. Move behind me quickly. So that's what I think happens.
Okay, that's very profound. So I want to go back to something you said about having people around you who tell you, Wewe, I know what you're doing. We are going there. The importance of having people who bring out or silence the imposter syndrome, you can say it that way. So how do you think, like right now, thinking back, do you have people and you stop to think that, anyway, at this point, this person really helped me overcome the imposter syndrome or helped me believe in myself better? And do you think of course it's very important, but sometimes it is not, it stems out of competition. So you see, like, I feel you're being like a competition to me, so I don't want you to be around my circle, and I tell you, wait, usifanye your season 3, don't do this. So what are your thoughts on having people around you who speak life to you?
Oh my God, so necessary. So a personal reflection that I think about all the time in my free time, unprovoked. Misunderstood is the content platform I create. Now, what do I do with that platform? I wake up in the morning and I like having conversations. So my friend Ben, he was recording in a studio in his living room, actually, in his house at the time, and we wanted us to do this thing together, create content together. And then he tells me, by this you come. So I said, I'm coming. My brother, let's have a conversation. And Ben and I can talk for hours. So we talk, we have this conversation. 2 episodes later, his wife, now girlfriend, then walks in and says, Nyawira, why don't you start your own thing? Imposter syndrome said, I don't have the caliber to do what you guys do.
I'm not fit for it.
I'm not fit for it. Speaking life in that situation was now Moji, because he woke up one morning and said, let's go and plan what you're going to do about content. I walked into a set that he had already created. He just said, you prepare the content, I'll get you cameraman, I'll get you lights, I'll get you everything you need. That's how my content journey began. Now speaking death would have been the inverse. Is that Ben would have easily said, I want you only on my platform, you're only good for my platform, you're only good for me and for my benefit. I will not support anything you do, but I'll only support you when you do what I want you to do. So I think the inverse is that speaking life is that, Shalom, my assumption would be is that even as you keep on growing is to say, how are you helping someone who is growing? Otherwise, even you.
Nadu.
I'm not going to say much, but I know what I'm saying in my head. That's what I think.
Wow. So who are you helping? Rather than you moving, who are you helping? And that is very important. Because I feel human beings, that's our nature.
Exactly.
Like we want to be the center of it all. It is me who did this, me and me and me. But the important or the one thing to look out for is who are you, whose hand are you holding?
Exactly.
And in that you also get to learn things, discover things, and be better at what you do. So another thing, what is that one red flag that you watch for and know that this is actually imposter syndrome? That thing that comes and like, I can smell it, I know this is imposter syndrome. What do you think is for you, maybe, or any what is that one red flag that you see and you're like, I know this is imposter syndrome and I know how it feels like?
When asked to do something and I immediately say no. Like I don't even think about it. I'll just say nope. No. So before I used to say, it's the Holy Spirit guiding me, making me understand. He's showing me what to do, what not to do. And I think it's rubbish. I would say no quickly because I think, no, I'm not the one. So anytime I see that happening, and I'm not saying I say yes also carelessly, is that I give you a penny of my time to hear why do you want me to do this thing? Yeah. Second red flag for me is when I'm constantly seeking affirmation so that I can do something. Yeah, we're with you. Can we support you? We're in your corner. We're with you in this one. Yeah. But I don't need that affirmation. So when I start feeling like I need to be affirmed so that I can step out and do something, I usually feel like imposter syndrome is telling me, see, no one is even supporting you. Why would you bother? A third one is when I have to overthink a matter. Yeah. Nyawira, please come for this podcast recording. Guy. Yesterday I didn't sleep. The day before I didn't sleep. Today the shower I was shaking. What's happening?
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah.
Because you know, one of the scriptures I really love is that the path of the righteous, they are ordered by God. Their steps are ordered by God.
Yeah.
So there's no coincidence that I'm here now. I don't know why. Yeah, maybe it's just to contribute to your conversation, but even this is a step ordered by God here. So when I quickly say no, I'm telling God I don't trust the steps you're giving me. I don't trust you. Don't give me anything. And so I tend to think, if I can't trust God with the steps I'm taking, how can I trust Him to bless me? Because where is the blessing if I'm not moving? Okay, zikuje tu hapa penye niko.
I'm here.
Yeah, and I don't think that's how it works. So those steps are ordered by God. That means our trust must be that I trust God enough to do it. So I think a red flag for me is when I'm overthinking an opportunity that I shouldn't be overthinking about. Yeah, not to say that I take things casually or like I'm like, forget it, I'm showing up and I won't prepare anything. No, but it's also say that overthinking is, now I'm almost paralyzed by this overthinking that I can't move. Yeah, I don't know if it's happened to you where you're thinking.
Yeah.
You're even thinking about overthinking and overthinking itself.
Yeah.
So many overthinkings is unnecessary. Yeah.
It has happened to me. So I remember this podcast, starting it. I wanted to start it in 2022. Yeah, towards the end of 2022. Then I was like, let's start it new year. You see, when you're starting the year, and like, this will be new part year, of my goals. Me. Yeah, let me do it next year. Next year I'll have more time and resources and blah blah blah. Just pushing it to next year. So 2023 comes. Yeah. Like, okay, it's January, February. I talk to my friends. So, and something that you've also said, I think in retrospect now, I think I relied so much on affirmation from my friends for me to be able to do it. Yes, I know this is an idea I had and God had put it in my heart, but I wanted to hear what nataka kwanza podcast unafikiriaje? Unaonaje? Okay, I go to this other person. And for some reason, it really crippled me, like, you know, too much, because I ended up starting this podcast in August last year, 2023, an idea I had in like November 2022. So I think
we're judging you.
Yeah,
but we're here now.
Here, guys.
3 seasons later. Hey, usiambiwe na watu.
But yeah, you see, it is very important to have people, even if they are, you know, affirming you, get to know what God has said about you. And that is so important, getting to know what God says about you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think also maybe just to tell anybody out there, 2 things. One, God doesn't not use you because you have imposter syndrome. He won't stop using you. Yeah. Remember, God is sovereign.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your shortcomings, deal with them. Me, I'm going to use you. And I think about Gideon is that God tells him, hey, mighty man of valor.
Come, the smallest.
You're the guy. He says, wait a minute. I'm not just the smallest.
Yeah.
I'm the smallest in my community. I'm the smallest in my family. Yeah. I'm the smallest in our clan. Like, I'm the smallest of the smallest. But his imposter syndrome, God didn't say you're not worth being used. Because even Gideon, he was a funny guy. You know, by the time God has already shown up to you in your place of work, Gideon still is telling God, so show me a sign that I'm the guy you want to use. So tell me how I'm gonna. So his approach teaches me all the time that I can struggle with imposter syndrome, but God can still use me and not nullify the fact that I know what you're struggling with. And so God doesn't justify your struggle, but he meets you in it. Because sometimes we think that justifying your struggle is God coming to say, oh, Gideon, mighty man of valor, I know you struggle with this thing, but here we go. No, God calls you what he sees you as, not what you struggle with. And I think sometimes we get so comfortable with, okay, me, but I'm struggling, I can't speak in places, I can't do, but God comes and says, you're blessed. You're the guy I'll use. God knew Moses was a stammerer. What the heck? He knew. He's the creator. Come on. But
I created you.
I made you. Yeah. But he didn't say because he knew that he knew what Moses was meant to do. And I think what sometimes we get twisted is that we make our shortcoming the excuse for not doing things. So Moses was quick to say, I can't speak, I can't talk to people. But what God was going to use Moses for was not speaking. It was very small words. Let my people go. That's it. He told him, use those 3 words. Finish that story with that.
Yeah. No speech.
And immediately God equips him so that his insecurity can have an expression still. So you can't speak, that's fine. But here, go show them these signs. You know, use this thing. If they don't believe you with this, they have a problem. So I just to encourage anybody out there is that sometimes you have disqualified yourself because you're so deep in imposter syndrome. But God doesn't show up and tell you what you're not. He reminds you who you are. Then he tells you, now come with me on this journey. I'll make you as we are going. Jesus meets the disciples and he calls them fishers of men. What? They're fishermen. They smell like fish. What are you saying, Jesus?
Yeah. But
when we see Jesus leaving the earth 3 years later, they have become what he called them. Imposter syndrome tells us we cannot become. It tells us this is the final stop. God, on the other hand, says, this is who you are. Come up, come quickly. Tufanye kazi haraka. Stop discussing so much with me. Yeah.
Because I feel most of us, when imposter syndrome comes in, I feel this is the calling or this is what I have. But God, so you just let me go and work on my, work on this thing about myself, work on this weakness. But God is telling you, come as you are. You don't. I know you have all those insecurities and all those problems and everything, but you come. Even tu venye uko, I know you. Come. And do you think has it ever played part in your life where you feel like there's this thing that you wanted to do, but you are like, God, I have this excuse, this and this. Tell us. Tell us.
Even now, I think I'm still having those moments. I think I've faced them so many times. Stepping out into doing my own events was also a lot of imposter syndrome.
Check out for Misunderstood Festival, 2nd of November. Yeah.
She said it.
2nd of November.
Imagine if you're not listening to her, who are you listening to?
Mkuje.
But what happened is that I constantly thought I shouldn't do it. I think God spoke to me through Reverend George and he told me, why don't you try this thing, step out and do it. And when I decided to, I was like, wait, what? And between him saying it and me doing it was a lot of negotiation with God. What if I fail? What if I'm embarrassed again? What if people don't come? It's that thing to think you have a good event. You are alone. It's you alone. It's just that, and you're the two of you there saying, okay, see, let me just WhatsApp you. What if people don't come? Who do you think you are? Before that gathering, the first gathering we did, Shalom, I think you've done more episodes than I had done by the time I was stepping out to do it. In my head, I was like, I've seen this gameplay. People are usually so consistent before they can be trusted. People came. Now, imposter syndrome would have easily told me, don't you dare again, Nyawira. It was a flukes. Try again one more time, you're done. 5 events later, I still feel it. I do. And I think sometimes it's just what to tell people is that we glorify having imposter syndrome, but we also should start glorifying working regardless of it. Yeah, I feel it. I'm feeling it now. I am. I put my name on the line. I put God's name on the line. But then when you wake up in the morning, tomorrow is to say, I'm doing it regardless, and that's why sometimes I do certain weird things that I'll put it out there and I'll go off social media for a few hours. So that if anybody comes and says anything negative, I'm not going to see you for the first few hours of my time. So that helps me a lot.
Wow, that is important. So I had this thought, happy, but it will come. So imposter syndrome, there's this saying that he said, we don't, the problem of this generation is that we don't hit high and miss, is that let me read it. I'm forgetting it, guys. Our problem is not that we aim high and miss, but we aim low and hit.
What are my thoughts? Let's go step by step.
Okay.
Aiming low and aiming high.
The problem is that we aim high. It's not that we aim high and miss. It's that we aim low and hit. So we set standards for ourselves. Like, I cannot get to this point. I cannot get to this point, so let me go here. You know, we don't want to put for ourselves this big standard. So we put to kidogo. Then when you hit them, you're like, oh wow,
I'm doing well.
Ukufanya kitu, it was, you are, you know.
Yeah. What are my thoughts? I think many things. The first one, I think it's important I glorify progress. So I'm not necessarily against low and hitting it. I'm not against it, because I think that's where we should start. Now the problem becomes when we become comfortable and are constantly just going to where we win as opposed to trying. Now that's where the enemy is, because you have boxed potential into a win. I think the third part of that quote should be, the problem is not that we hit high and miss, is that we hit low, we go low and hit. The next, there should be a comma and says, the biggest problem therefore is we are stuck in winning. We're scared of losing. That's what that quote means. We're obsessed with small victories as opposed to big failures. Now, I'm not telling you wake up in the morning and just start failing. That's not how it works. But I think, I read a book, I think, by Travis Smiley. He's a sports journalist in the States many years ago. But his book was called Failing Forward. And in his book, I think he glorified, I read this was such a long time back, but he glorified the interviews that he didn't do the best at, because they were heavy lessons that made him one of the biggest later. We have glorified winning because, one, of our lack of affirmation internally. Because when I win in a small thing, many people think I'm doing well. When I fail in a big thing, everybody, I'm the laughing stock of society. Speaks into cancel culture. But then the glory of trying is saying, I don't have to win. And also, I don't have to lose. I just have to try.
Just do it.
Just try. You don't have to be. You know, I think the problem also with that, and I think it's just to echo, I feel like when everything starts with this generation, I feel like we have to keep on saying things. Is that I think this generation is also obsessed with victory. We're obsessed with being the hero. We're obsessed with always having it right. We're obsessed with never, ever, ever, ever looking bad. And we think that the moment we do, we've done a bad job. And I think this speaks into our mental wellness, because this is why we're losing our minds, because we're not doing well. But I don't think that's how God works. I think he's okay with you trying, and he's okay with you showing up to a challenge, but not being obsessed with a victory.
Because we want to win. Anything that does not look like a win,
we're out. We've lost it. And then you also build a permanent home of never come here again if you fail. But really, the sequence of life is that you will come back there.
Does that speak to perfectionism?
It's not perfectionism per se, but it's fear. It's actually fear, because perfectionism says I'll stay there. I'll stay there until I crack it. But fear says don't go back where you're afraid, where you've been put to shame. So hitting high, targeting high and missing is actually meant to be our biggest endeavor. You know, I think it also just speaks to our faith, is that you can't glorify a big God and you're obsessed with small things. That's not how it works. I think we should glorify big strides, not just doing them tomorrow morning and achieving them and saying tick, is that we have our whole lives to manifest a big God. So you can't be obsessed with small things.
You want to corner God. You can't.
And make him so small. So get up and try.
God is so much bigger than those problems.
Exactly.
It's about time you figure that out. So as we near to end this video, as we're almost ending this video, what is one thing that you wish you knew earlier, right now, at this age, probably in your 20s maybe? one thing that you feel has been putting you on hold or leaving you stuck? What is one thing?
If you know, you know.
Yeah, what is one thing that you wish you knew earlier?
One, that I have the power to change the voices in my head. I wish I knew that earlier. Now, as I'm speaking to you here, everybody must be thinking, Gaia, this girl, oh my God, she's such a believer in herself. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I think I wish I knew younger that I can condition my mind. And I'd also know how to condition my mind. I wish I knew conditioning my mind was not saying affirmations every hour. I'm the best.
The 10 things, every time, after every 1 hour, you read this to yourself.
Exactly. That's not how I condition my mind. Yeah. Conditioning my mind is surrendering it to God and saying, you know what? This thing is also by
what
you.
What does surrender look like?
It looks like relinquishing control. Stop being obsessed with being in charge of things you can't.
Yeah.
Even life. Yeah. Even life's dealings. Yeah. So it's telling God, this mind of mine, condition it, change how I'm thinking about this matter. Give me a new perspective. I wish I knew that younger, because I'm trying to do it a lot now when I feel a lot of anxiety. Conditioning my mind is now to say, what are your thoughts about anxiety, God? Yeah.
That thing to hear God's voice.
It become allowing it to become bigger than the voice of my situation, because sometimes those voices in my situation, they start telling you things and you're like, wow, who allowed you in here? Get out of here, get out of here, get out of here, get out of here. So I think there's a movie, I think it's War Room. It's a scene where Priscilla is in the kitchen and she tells the enemy, you have no foothold here. And she opens the kitchen door and says, get out of this house. I find myself doing that sometimes with my mind. When I hear some voices, I feel like opening my forehead and saying, Toka. Now, just the way you thought you're coming in, go. Yeah. So I think I wish I knew that earlier. But then something else I really wish I knew is that you can't be the hero. You can't be the hero, the victim in the same story. Hey, even you, come on.
Pick a side.
Pick a side. But whichever side you're going to pick, just know that there are pros and cons. To being the victim, the cons are bigger than the pros. Because you'll never step out, you'll never try anything, you'll be afraid, you'll always blame someone. But being the hero, the pros are more, because you see a new side of yourself. Even though the cons are there, is that the cons would be that as a hero, it's a bit more sacrificial. It's not as easy. Yeah.
Wow.
So you must pick a side in the narrative of your life. You can't wake up in the morning and say, today I'm all of them. This half of me is the hero, this half is the victim. They will fight. Yeah, so find a balance.
Pick a side.
Pick a side quick. Yeah.
All right. So now we have spoken about the past. I want you to tell them, or me, us, in the next 20 years, when people mention Nyawira, what do you want to be the first 1 or 2 things that will come into their mind?
It's a good question. 20 years.
Shanza calculate age.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah.
But not so long also. I think 20 years from now, the one thing I want, when people say Nyawira, they must think believer of God, not herself. So believer, they must think impactful, they must think thought leader. If those 3 things are said about me, I'm good. But and I think all of them speak into every area of my life, is that as a believer, does her family speak into belief? Does her marriage and her family, do they espouse the believing in God? When they think impact, do they see impact at the lowest level of myself to the numbers of people that I can impact? Do they see it all across? When they think thought leader, it means that Nyawira is actively thinking. So my mind, and I trust God a lot for it, is that God will use my mind to challenge some narratives. You know, I've been reading the book of Daniel a lot. And Daniel wasn't many things, but I think the third king, it's a third king actually, yeah? It's a third king. Comes and says, there's a writing on the wall, because also the king was careless. He said, we're having a bash, get those things that were used in the temple. Let's use them now for our wine. Yeah. Shame on you, Cyrus. So they're at this party and they're having this good time. And at the party, they see a hand writing on the wall. First, that's the weirdest thing ever. What in the Adams family are we seeing? Why is there a hand walking on the wall, writing?
Yeah.
But the hand inscribes something so interesting. And nobody understood it because the king's men were called and told, "Where decipher." The king's men didn't get it. But the king's mother, she's called the queen mother, said there's a man from Judah, one of the Israel boys. He is equipped in understanding and can solve any difficult matter. I don't know what gave her that confidence. But when Daniel came, he didn't say, "Me, you want me to decipher a random hand?" Daniel came in and the king tells him, "Daniel, whoever cracks this thing, I'll give you fine linen and I'll give you power. I'll give you all these things." And Daniel says, "Keep those things. I'll tell you what this is. This is what the writing means." And he gives him the breakdown. There's a balance, there's a scale, there's time. And he tells him all these things. And why I'm saying a thought leader is that when I think of Daniel is that generationally, I pray, my biggest prayer is that generationally I'll be relevant to think through the issues of generations, not just mine. Yeah, because by the time 20 years from now, I'll be in a whole different generation. Yeah. Will I be able to help the younger, but also speak to the older? That's because I think sometimes we think relevance is being with the times. No. Relevance is in the time. It's transgenerational. Yeah. So I think for me that's my biggest prayer. That I'm a believer, that's what they think. That I am impactful and that I am a thought leader.
Wow.
Yeah, and good thoughts, not just thoughts. Not an alarmist. I hate alarmists.
Good thoughts. Yeah. Wow. I love it. I don't think I have anything to add there. So we have come to the end of the episode. Yeah. So
what's yours though? Sorry, just to cut you short.
What I want
20
to be
years to come.
For.
Not remembered for. To be known for. Remember this, that you've gone to glory.
What I want to be known for.
Yeah.
I want to be known. When someone says shalom, shalom many. One, someone who has left impact.
Okay.
That when my name is mentioned, that you will remember the things that I did or how what I did changed your life. Okay. We can be doing things, but they're not really having an impact in anyone's life. So it is in what I do, the impact that it brings. Transformational impact. Not just doing, talking, speaking, podcast episodes, season 10. How has my doing or my being changed your life? I'm not just speaking how has it changed your life? I just want to be seen or to be remembered as someone who changed lives from conversations, of course, because that is what I do mostly.
So transformational.
Yeah. And I think that should be one thing that is tucked in our hearts, because most of the times we are so focused on doing, saying, being things, but how is what you're doing making a change in someone's life? How is someone coming to talk to you, listen to you? How is it going to change them? Are they going to live there better, or is it just going to be one of those things they hear and then, it was good, bye? Yeah,
get out.
Yeah. How does it change?
That.
How does it change? So we are up with the episode. Thank you so much, Nyawira.
Thank you for having me.
I'm pinching myself. I'm the one pinching myself right now. So thank you so much for coming here, for honoring the invitation. I remember when I told Nyawira, I want you to be on my podcast. She didn't even wait for me to finish. She was like, yes, when, Shalom?
No imposter syndrome. You see? No discussion. I'm there, Shalom, when?
Skugani, tell me. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I'm sure these guys have learned so much. And we'll see you season 3. Guys, we are taking a short break, but we'll be back bigger and better. Bye-bye.
Bye.